welcome back to another installment of Investing in the Future. I'm Forsyth County Manager Kevin Tanner, and I'm glad you're with us today here at East Forsyth High School for our second roundtable discussion in this 5-part series. We touched on it briefly in episode 1, but today's focus will be on TSPLOS and how this penny sales tax could have a massive ripple effect on the county's transportation needs for the future. Joining us today is Chief Financial Officer Mark Turk, Assistant County Manager David McKee. Thanks for joining me again, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Mark, it's an odd acronym and it's pronounced a couple of different ways, but tell us what TSPLOS is. What does it mean?
So TSPLOS, the acronym itself, is Transportation Special Purpose Local Option Sales Tax. And it is a 1-cent tax when sales tax is applied that citizens pay on goods when they purchase things. The benefit of it is that it helps the county relieve the burden of projects that it has to pay by pushing that burden to just the homeowners. It's everyone who spends money in the county, whether they're a property owner or a citizen, resident or not.
Great. And one of the things that I think you and I talk a lot about, and you know I hate debt. And I know some of the citizens have said to me, if TSPLOS passes, does that mean the county's going to take on additional debt? What's the plan as it relates to debt in TSPLOS?
With TSPLOS, the county is planning to pay as you go. So as it collects the funds that come through, then it will fund the projects moving forward. But there's no plan to take on any debt to pay off any of the projects.
Music to my ears, no more debt. David, why do we need a dedicated funding source for transportation?
So, Kevin, thank you. Thanks for having me. And we need a dedicated funding source for transportation for a couple reasons. Probably the first and foremost is just the sheer cost of what it costs to deliver these projects, to deliver these investments into the community. So the cost is one driver. The second is have a dedicated source in itself. We're all being pulled just like we are at home in many, many different directions to deliver parks, to deliver services. We all use the roads or the sidewalks, and we'll get into in just a minute a little bit more about what we can use those funds for. But sheer cost, and then have a dedicated source to deliver a solution to many of our issues that we see in congestion.
Mark, you hit on this a few minutes ago, but I think it's worth coming back to it for just a minute. Who will pay for it? You know, when we go back to 2014, the county, citizens of Forsyth County stepped up. They voted themselves a property tax increase to fund $200 million worth of transportation dollars. We know that doesn't go very far in the transportation world, but only property owners in Forsyth County paid for that.
That is correct.
But we also know there's a lot of people that come to Forsyth County that don't own property in Forsyth County.
Right.
Lots of folks travel through. I think personally one of the special things about SPLOS and TSPLOS dollars and that collection method is if you buy anything in Forsyth County traveling through, you're paying.
You're paying, and it spreads it out amongst everyone. And so when you visit Lake Lanier and you take in a soft drink, then you're paying those sales taxes and you're helping with programs like TSPLOS.
Mark, I know you've looked at the numbers. You're a numbers guy in Forsyth County government, and you've projected out based on historic collections. What do you anticipate? Because TSPLOS, if it passes, it would be in 5-year increments. So over the next 5 years, what would you anticipate TSPLOS collecting?
TSPLOS alone should bring in $250 million over the 5-year collection period.
That's amazing. And then is there an opportunity, because we hear a lot about leveraging dollars, is there an opportunity to leverage those dollars to bring more money to Forsyth County?
With a program like TSPLOS that's going to bring in an anticipated $250 million, we will be able to match that with Georgia Department of Transportation and even federal funding opportunities to expand that $250 million, excuse me, and possibly even double it.
That's great. So maybe a $250 million investment over 5 years could easily become $400 or even $500 million.
Absolutely.
And over a decade, that becomes real money at $1 billion.
Yes, sir. Yes.
That's tremendous. David, one of the things I think is important, because we hear how costly transportation projects are, there's always a concern from citizens that these dollars are going to be used for something else, that we're going to collect this money and we're going to spend it to build a building, and we're going to spend it on something else. But David, can TSPLOS dollars be used for anything else other than transportation?
Kevin, the simple answer is no. We have a very strict list of guidelines, state law, that we have to go by. I have accepted the challenge to Mark's term and Kevin's term just a minute ago about paying as we go. So we've built a program based off of our 2018 transportation plan that will deliver these projects and give us the ability to deliver these projects as we go, rather than front load it and have to borrow money and do all that. So I've accepted that challenge in building that program.
That's great. And you mentioned the 2018 transportation plan. I don't think folks sometimes realize how much planning goes into these projects. So transportation projects just don't come up by the seat of our pants, so to speak. These are things that have been planned for years. So you're saying that in 2018, and it's been being updated now, that's the roadmap for future transportation projects in Forsyth County?
Yeah, roadmap, no pun intended. That's exactly right. In 2018, Forsyth County Commissioners adopted that plan. There was many models, traffic models. You'll hear the term level of service as it relates to an intersection. And then based off of those models, based off of that program, there were projects that were identified to the tune of about 130 or 140 projects. When we built this TSPLOS program, we built a 10-year program. I think it's important that we don't just take a snapshot in time, because the snowball's still rolling down the hill. We know that we're one of the fastest growing counties in the state and probably the nation. So it is important that we look at that transportation plan. We take out the projects that are funded and have been completed. But yes, there is a lot of work that goes into that. We are updating that now based off of the current transportation models and current traffic counts.
That's great. And Mark, one of the things that I sometimes hear is citizens were asked, and they stepped up in a big way in 2014, passed the 2014 transportation bond. Did that not solve all of our transportation problems? Did that not give us all the money that we needed to do all the transportation projects?
The transportation projects are massive, and the $200 million is a lot of money. But when it comes to road projects, it doesn't go a long way. One project, for instance, the Post Road project, could take $100 million of a $200 million plan. And so in order to keep up with the growth in the county and the needs of the county, and to reduce that congestion, the TSPLOS is necessary. It is one of those things where the bonds, although be it a lot of money, don't go very far, and then they take years to pay for.
I think you hit on something else I wanted to mention, the bonds. So money was borrowed, $100 million was borrowed in general obligation debt from the 2014. That will not be paid off until, set to be paid off in 2035, I believe.
Somewhere in there, yes.
And obviously we've talked about, and we'll talk about in future episodes, we have plans to bring that debt down and get it paid off early. But that just shows you how from 2014 to 2035, having that debt hanging over the citizens of Forsyth County.
Correct.
And one of the things too, I know I get asked is, we collect a lot of taxes. You know, Forsyth County collects a lot of money. Why can't we just use all the tax dollars we collect to do all these transportation projects? And I think you probably hit on one of those things, as we really don't touch or do anything else in government that cost as much as transportation projects cost.
That is correct. And while that is an option to use the tax dollars, it is not probably the best option. The reason for that is the cost, and the way that the county is funded for the services that are provided is through a millage rate. And the maintenance and operations millage rate in Forsyth County is the lowest in the state of Georgia of any county that it has at least 100,000 citizens. So we have worked really hard to keep the millage rate low. And in order to fund these huge projects that are transportation projects, we would have to raise that substantially in order to get the same kind of money that this 1 cent tax would bring in.
I think one of the things we're going to hear through these episodes is the county is low debt, looking to get that debt paid off in the next few years, AAA bond rated, good strong fund balance and our fund reserves. But the one issue that we struggle with is how do you pay for these transportation projects? Yes. And you just said we have the lowest millage rate, which is what your property taxes are based on, how much the county's collecting of all the counties of 100,000 or more people in the state. And we're proud of that. And we want to keep that, and we want to keep that distinction, and we don't want to just have to raise taxes to cover transportation projects.
Correct.
David, what are some examples of TSplash projects? If TSplash passed, what would it fund? Give us some idea.
Yeah, that's a great question. So we have the program that we have built is based off of our 2000 Transportation Improvement Plan. Just as we just talked about, some of our big, large-scale projects that we would fund. The first one being State Route 306 from 400 through 369. Anybody that's in that area, just about any time of the day, you're going to sit in congestion, you're going to sit in traffic. So what that project would be is widening that road to a 4-lane divided median. We have met with Commissioner McMurray with the Georgia Department of Transportation, and we've got a partnership there with that project. One of the other projects is Post Road. We've had that talked about a couple times just in this episode here today. Department of Transportation has agreed to fund phase 1. Our TSPLOS would fund phase 2 of that project. Another thing that's very important that was very beneficial to Forsyth County and any citizens that travel up 400 is widening of State Route 400. That's an additional project that's listed in our TSPLOS from 369 going north towards the Dawson County line. We've got funds in this program for design. We'll have to study that and see where that would terminate, but widening 400 continuing north. I also want to make sure that everyone understands, Kevin, that it's not just roadway transportation projects. We have some simple, small projects that we can deliver very quickly. For example, in the south side of the county, down by Lambert High School, there's a short 1-mile section of sidewalk that we've identified, and that's based off of need, working with our local district commissioners and doing that. So any types of transportation, whether it's pedestrian transportation or cars or bikes, we have projects for all three listed in this program.
You mentioned doing things quickly, because in the transportation world, sometimes things do go slow. But if TSplash did pass, is it fair to say that citizens would see immediate progress, that there would be some projects that would start immediately? You would actually see crews out there working, building a sidewalk, doing an intersection improvement. There would be engineers hired to start the design phase that you might not actually see construction on for several years. There'd be other projects that maybe are already designed, but we would have to start acquiring right away. So people would see progress, but some of the progress takes place behind the scenes.
Yeah, that's exactly right. I'm going to go back to Post Road. There's about 200 parcels there where we have to acquire additional right-of-way. Out of those 200 parcels, that's about an 18-month process to do that. So the short answer is yes. We have a number of projects that will be delivered quickly. 306, we talked about State Route 306. The design is completed on State Route 306. When we finish acquiring right-of-way, we can go straight into construction. And that one not only will be delivered quickly and you'll see progress quickly, but also finish quickly. And that's one of our challenges is just what you said, is delivering these projects that take 4 and 5 and 6 years to complete in that timeline.
Well, there you have it. We've talked a lot about TSplash, a lot about transportation. We know from every poll that's done out there that transportation and congestion is the #1 issue on folks and their mind here in Forsyth County and our citizens. Thank you all for all you're doing to contribute to improving that here in Forsyth County. More information on TSplash is available on the county's website, forsythco.com, on Capital Projects tab, and I implore our voters to review information on the penny sales tax before heading out to vote. That's all for this episode. Join us next time on Investing in the Future as we continue this 5-part series. A very special thank you to the staff and students here at East Forsyth High School for letting us use their wonderful studio. So long for now.